Hello, welcome to Here for the Horses. Glad you are here for the horses. I'm looking forward to today because we have kind of a fun subject, one that I'm gonna make you guys tell me the answers. Yay! But I think it's gonna be fun, and then I might be able to show some examples of that, and we can talk about it. And I want you to think about what you've seen. So a lot of kind of what we do is observing the horse, and I know that you guys already know that. So today I want to talk about things that I see with horses, and I want you to start seeing other things with horses. So I'm going to give you a funny example. Nancy Ackerman and myself are taking lessons from a woman named Rhoda Higgins, and she is so good. She's so good. And I'm not trying to be cocky, but I'm pretty good at groundwork. Like it's kind of my jam. Like I really like groundwork. And so, I would rather do groundwork than ride. I don't know. I just enjoy it. So, Rada's better than me at groundwork. And I have not, I mean, I've been around trainers that are better at me. Molly is super good, a lot of people, but most of my friends are not, they don't focus on groundwork like I do. And I like taking, like I call them nasty horses, and doing groundwork with them because I like seeing that transformation when you help them on the ground. And then I go, okay, whoever wants to ride, take this wild beast and go do something with it because that's not my, I don't want to work through the buck. I'd rather work through the rear on the ground. Um, but Rada picked up on some things. I'm taking lessons with her with Chester, and I'll be honest with you, I wish I would have started it a while back because she's so good at seeing things. My friend has a giant Frisian mare that's absolutely huge and lovely and beautiful and all these wonderful things. But when she's pushing into you, it's very, very obvious. When you have a giant horse throwing their shoulder at you, it's really obvious. Okay. But when you have a tiny little Arabian that's got like little tiny Arabian legs, I mean, they're tall, but they're small, and he shoulders into you, you don't even notice because it's just a tiny little leg. And so she pointed out to me that he's stepping into me. And I go, really? I don't feel it because he's so petite. And so I was missing behaviors that he was doing because he's small. Where with my friend, and her horse does the exact same thing, the Frisian mare that's, I don't know, 1,200 pounds, pretty obvious when she steps into you. So it made me think, yeah, we're missing stuff sometimes. So today we're going to talk about things that we might be missing and kind of honing our skills on that. Okay, so let's start with a cute video first, and I have it pulled up already. So let's share it. It's a cute little donkey. Where is it? Is it here? Oh, oh, I wasn't going to share that one. I'm sharing this one. So this is Masterson method. Had horses sleeping at his clinic also. So that was kind of cool to see. I'm not the only one that puts horses to sleep, right? Look at these horses. They laid down mid-clinic. That's so cool. And Shelly had Dollar lay down multiple times. And I don't remember if it was Dollar twice or Dollar and another horse. But that's pretty significant when horses lay down because of the impact that you've made on them, their body. Look at that. People be like, call the vet, something's wrong. It's like, that's body work. Okay. So that was kind of cool. And then the other one I wanted to show you, I just think is hilarious. So let's look at this. Whoops. Where is it? I think that's funny because, listen, I don't care what horse it is. You are not braiding my hair into the tail of another horse. I'm not gonna do that. And then someone photoshopped this person's face, head floating and that horse running off. It's funny because it's not real, but it's not funny because this could be real. So that's hilarious to me. When I saw that, well, when I saw it, I first saw this part and I immediately, as most of you guys might have gone like, "Ooh, that's cool. That's cute." But now, no, no, no. And then somebody did this who obviously is an equestrian. And I think that's pretty funny. So there you go. Those are my two clips today. Okay, so let's talk today. We have to do homework, right? So let's do homework here. I have that saved too. Share. Here it is. Okay, are you ready? Here you go. Fetlock rub, coronet band, and these are hind legs, and the ting points. Okay, fetlock rub, coronet band, ting points. So we talked about the fetlock rub is going to be similar to the front leg fetlock rub. I want you to rub it in between your hands. Rub, rub, rub. Scratch it, scratch it, scratch it, scratch it, move it, move it, move it. Do it with some fingertips. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Rub, rub, rub. Okay? Take it down to the pastern. Take it up the cannon bone. Okay, and you can redo the foreleg work that we did if you want to real quick, because you're doing the same thing on the foreleg, right? You're kind of jostling it, moving around, rubbing up and down, linear friction, little, I don't do a ton of cross fiber friction, but scratching, little cross fiber friction. You can do the knee again because they like that. Take it down the cannon bone, rub it, make sure all that skin moves. And then the fetlock. Spend a lot of time on the fetlock. You'd be surprised. Okay, you'd be surprised. And then scratch that pastern. The pastern never gets attention. Never gets attention. So when you scratch it, they might be like, oh, okay. And then take it down to the coronet band. Scratch that, coronet band. Okay. After you've done that, give it a little bit of a break. And then I want you to do the ting points. So if you want to do ting points in a separate video, go ahead and do that. Coronet band and fetlock can go together. Okay. That'll be easy. Okay. So that's for this week. And then next week's going to be hind leg range of motion. And I'm excited. I got a couple horses I want to see. Okay. That's the plan. Any questions about that? It's easy. Super easy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about some signs of discomfort when you're doing body work. And what I want to do is I wanted to talk about, was Marge in the house? Marge isn't here, I don't think. I wanted to talk about training our eye to see different signs of discomfort because we're used to seeing normal signs of discomfort, which are going to be pinning of the ears, okay, dirty looks. We know our dirty looks when we get them. The stomping and swishing of the tail. Those are pretty obvious. But what about stuff that some of our horses are so sophisticated, they wouldn't do that, right? They're too sophisticated for that. Okay. Some of our horses are too busy in their minds. Okay. So having like direct behaviors, nope. They're too kind of erratic. Okay. Younger horses, they're a little erratic. They don't handle their emotions as well. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. You can either unmute or put it in the comments. I better pull up the comments here. The chat box. Tell me some signs that your horse is having a hard time with something that you're doing regards to body work. And what I want to do is I want to think about different horses that we all know that are in this program. I want to talk about what level of discomfort is this, because that's important information. Okay. So biting at someone, I'll give you one. Biting at someone is extreme. Okay. So most horses don't bite as their first line of defense. They normally warn you about 4 or 5 times before they bite you. And that's true out in the herd also, right? Very rarely do boss mares bite. They just don't have to. So the only time they bite is when the other horse hasn't listened to the other 4 or 5 signs that they've given. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. Give me some signs that you know of that show tension. Moving away. Excellent. Moving away, says Nancy. Okay. So you have 2 types of moving away. There's the moving away that I want you on a different spot. Okay. And we're aware of that because when they want you on a different spot, they stop. They're not moving away to get away from you. They're moving away to get you on a different spot. They're like, you're almost there, but not quite there. So it's slower. It's more precise. Okay. So moving away, depending on how they do it, I would say is pretty mild. That's a mild way. Okay. So that's a mild response. Okay. Leanne says pawing. Yes. Pawing can be 2 things also. So pawing can be like, I'm not digging this. I'm having emotions about this. And it can also be a sensation. Okay. We saw a lot of sensations. Candy this week when you sent the tail stuff in. Did y'all see that yet? I just put it up. Candy did the back foot thing. I mean, I am blown away by that now. I'm really excited that I was able to see that in this group of horses because I had not picked up on that before. So picking up the back feet when working on the tail is a direct result of working on the tail. Because I haven't seen that in anything else, but I saw so many horses moving their back feet up and down. It was the same movement, up and down when you were working specifically on the tail itself. It was wild. So cool. Okay. So pawing is just pawing is going to be another general, this is annoying me, not a fan. Okay. So I would say that, let's see, and I make up stuff myself. So you can say that pawing is, medium. I'd say, mild to medium. Yeah, medium probably for pawing. Sue says not standing still. Yep. So the fidgeting. Okay. So we have moving and not standing still. Okay. I'm going to add another degree to it because does anyone know what I call it? when it's extreme. So moving away is mild, not standing still is medium. What do I call it when it's extreme? I call it something. Anybody know? I say they're leaving the building. Somebody wants to leave the building. Okay. And we've seen that. We've seen that in Journey Through the Horse. So and so wants to leave the building. We saw it in Milagros. Okay. We see it in Teddy. Teddy likes to leave the building. Clarissa's like, you better hold on. Clarissa's out of there. Okay. So leaving the building. Rhythm is Rhythm's in cross ties and wants to leave the building. That was the big dark mare. There's only been 2 videos of her. But when they want to leave the building, what would you say that is? That's a pretty extreme. That's not moving away. That's not fidgeting. That's like, I'm out of here, bro. Okay, so that's pretty extreme. Because if you were doing it at liberty in a paddock, you would not have a horse in front of you anymore. Okay, so that's pretty extreme. So leaving the building, I want you guys to pay attention to that. Teddy is a great example. Rhythm is a great example. Let's see, who else did I have? Kingston will leave the building. Given Raven would leave the building, given a choice. Okay. And it really goes from I'm handling, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm gone. Okay. So that's your leaving the building. I want people to pay attention to that one. Okay. Milagros did it. He couldn't get too far. So then he got mad and did like a little kick out. Okay. So it goes beyond that. And then Teddy does that because he does it in a stall. Okay. So that's trying to leave the building, but he's in a stall. So when they do circles. Okay. So that one I want to pay a lot of attention to. Leanne said going introverted. Oh, we have some introverts, don't we? Oh my goodness. So let me remind you what introverted is. Okay. It's quiet. Their eyes go, not today. Their eyes go in. They're not looking out. They're going, oh, I better protect myself. I'm going introverted. We see a lot of that. Candy's the queen. Candy's the queen, right? Okay. Uh, Ellie, Tom's the king. King and queen. Ellie goes introverted. Milagros goes introverted depending on the situation. I think that's interesting. So Milagros goes in stages, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. So he's like, I'm mouthy, I'm extroverted, oh. And then he goes, I can't handle it, and then he leaves the building. So that was kind of fun. He goes through a lot, right? All right. Let's see, who other, Lily was extremely introverted. So that was the horse that we talked about. Cheryl was working on her. Cute mare, ewe-necked. Remember we talked about the ewe-neck? Very introverted. Very introverted. Georgia's introverted, obviously. Okay. Mira does both introverted and extroverted. Yeah, so Carol just said, that'll bring us into the next one. Carol said, looking away like there's something out there. I call that extroverted. External. Going external. Chester's the king. Chester's like, there's something out there. And remember, why do they do that? Because when they go, what is that? There's something over there. What do? I don't know. What is that? And we stop doing what we're doing and we look to see what they're looking at. And then we go, There's nothing out there. What was I doing? Yeah, to distract you. They distract us really well. They're super good at that. Okay. So that's pretty fun. The going external is interesting. So what I've noticed with Chester as I continue to help him through his anxiety, he does not do that anymore. What? No, no, no. He does. He just doesn't do it as much. Okay. He doesn't do it as much. There was a video where we were watching Tom, I think. And I said, oh, he's gone. That's when I say, when they go internal, oh, they're gone. Oh, he's back. He would go in and out like frequently. Okay. So that's really interesting. All right. So leaving the building, what about head tossing? Okay. So we saw some head tossing. Who is the head tossing king? There's one horse in particular. It's only on one side. There's a big hint for you. Sir Dewey. Sir Dewey. So that gray that Jennifer works on. Now, he only head tosses on one side. Boone? Oh, yeah, that's right. Boone. Totally. Yeah. He was a big time head tosser. Okay. Boone was very specific to a particular point, which is funny because Dewey is very specific to a certain point also. It's that scar on his shoulder. Okay. He only tosses his head to the right. Only. Remember, I put up the score. I kept score. It was 1 to 12. Yep. It was a lot. All to the right because of that scar. So think about it. That scar is like right here on him. Okay. So think about it. Every move you make with your neck is restricted at that scar. Okay, so Jennifer did some work on that scar tissue, and it was pretty awesome. That was some pretty awesome work. Okay, Boone, Sue found that it was the insertion point of the rhomboid in the neck. Okay, so anything going down the neck or affecting or jiggling or moving the neck, head toss. That took a while to figure out too, so that was really interesting. Okay. So head tossing. And I would say head tossing is probably a medium. That's probably a medium. It's significant. Horses don't like to toss their head because it's a lot of work. Horses are, I was told by a trainer, horses are pretty lazy in general. Like they're not going to try to do extra if they don't feel like they have to. So tossing the head, like that's why they say a lot of people, that's kind of the reason a lot of people go, make the best decision the easiest. That's where that training idea comes from. Just make the best decision that they can make, the easiest decision. Because when it's the easiest and they figure out that it's the easiest, that's the one they're going to choose. Okay. So head tossings, I would say medium, because that takes a fair amount of muscle. It's not comfortable to toss your head, right? So I'd say that's a medium. Going internal, we talked about that. Tom, Candy, Ellie, Mira a little bit, Dollar. Dollar's definitely internal. Uno a little bit. Okay. What about going external? Okay, so we talked about external. Chester goes external. Mags goes external, likes to sometimes they make up things to look at. So anytime you see a horse that kind of makes up things to look at. So I just saw a video of Frida's. Mystic Knight does that some. She also fidgets. Yeah. She also pretends that there is something she's interested in on the ground that she must inspect, and she is not interested. She does not care about that. Has been in that pasture for who knows how long. She's not interested. Okay. Yep. Mystic Knight. Okay. Teddy. Teddy goes external. And I would also say that's medium. That's a medium. They're it's a little louder than going internal. Like internal's really quiet, but it's pretty serious. So if you have a horse that you're about to get on that just went internal, I wouldn't get on it. I wouldn't get on it because when it comes back out, it's going to be like, how'd you get on my back? See ya, right? So same with body work. When they go internal, I want them to be like, hey, come on back out and let's have a conversation about what you're nervous about. Okay. Leaving the building, we talked about that. That's high. That's to the higher degree. Okay. What about the look? Okay. There was two types of looks. There's the, oh, you're on a spot and I really like it. That's from your internal horses, your stoic horses, I would say. Georgia was the queen of that. That's the first way I found out she really liked her right hind massaged. Georgia was like, what are you doing? She never moves a muscle, has never looked back at me before, ever. And the first time she went, what are you doing back there? And I was like, I don't know. What am I doing? Do you like that? Do you not like that? What's going on? Are you going to kick me? Is that your plan? What's happening? And she was like, no, that's good. Whatever that is, I'll take it. Okay. So the look can either be concern, like you're getting close to a spot, check yourself. That's normally when I back off a little bit. Or it can be like you're on the spot. Okay, so you have to kind of gauge those two. It's kind of difficult sometimes. Okay, and I would say the look is pretty mild. We saw a lot of horses give the look, especially when I talked about it and then y'all sent photos in. So Tom gave a look, Clarissa gave a look. Okay. I took some photos of horses. Candy, I think, gave a look. So that's pretty fun. That's a really fun one to be able to pay attention to. Okay, when they come around and go like, hey, how did you learn that? That's pretty cool. Okay. Biting, obviously, biting at you. So Tariq, or not Tariq, Zanzibar likes to threaten with bites. And then I asked Marge, I was like, does he bite? And she's like, no, he's never bit. I was like, oh, that's really interesting because he threatens all the time. He threatens all the time. So I find that very interesting. But when they actually bite at you, that's extreme. Okay. Normally there are multiple signs given before the bite. So I would say the only time there aren't multiple signs is when you went in way too hard, way too fast, or uh, it's a young horse. Because your young horses they don't regulate emotions. Okay. So your younger horses. Um, yeah, young horses. Yep. Okay. So biting, we talked a little bit about moving away from you. Okay, we talked a little bit about that. So there's different degrees of moving away from you. Pay attention to those. Okay. But I would say initially the moving away is very mild. So if you can catch it when it's very mild, you don't have to get up to the I'm leaving the building one, because that's more extreme. Same thing though. It's the same thing. Okay. Let's talk about one more. We've kind of talked a little bit about it with Mystic Knight. The fidget. The fidget. So we have a horse in this group that is the king of fidget. Mystic Knight's probably the queen. But the king is Cinder. Cinder. So Wanda's big roan horse. He's like a bay roan, dark roan. That big old boy. He expresses everything. He'll leave the building too, but he's so well trained that she wiggles that rope and he goes, "Oh gosh, I have to stand still. Let me chew on everything that's in front of me." Right? That lead rope of his is destroyed because he has to chew on something. The fidget. Okay, he's a fidget master. Mystic Knight. I'm curious, she's still young, so I'm wondering if she kind of will grow out of that a little bit. It'd be interesting. We'll see. You never know. Okay. Carol says Lily will bite mostly, just threats now. Yeah. Yep. So they go, that dog has a fish in his mouth. Oh my gosh. That dog has a fish. That's so cute. Oh, Lily's 19. Okay. You know what's funny is that my I had a dog that was, speaking of dogs, he was a he was a he was a healer bird dog. So he was a healer bird dog mix. Just perfect 50-50. But you know those healers, they're a little, they're a little crazy. And he was the best dog. He loved me so much. He was so loyal, never got into the garbage, never laid on the couch, never ran away. He never ran away. He never did anything wrong. But if someone showed up at our house, he lost his freaking mind. He would bark this bark that I called it a soul piercing bark because it went right inside you and you went, oh gosh. And it made you want to just tackle him to the ground and like shut his mouth. It was so piercing. And it was funny because when he got old, and I would say like the last year of his life, it's the only time he didn't bark like that. And I was like, well, there's one benefit to him, like, on his way out, is he doesn't go crazy when people show up. And there was a placemat, like a doormat that said something like, do not ring the doorbell unless you want to unleash all hell from dogs or something like that. It was really funny. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not the only one because my dog would lose his mind. And it was just like, it was so loud and it echoed. It was hilarious. So, yeah. So when they get older, they don't do those. They don't do those things. So good job, Lila. Good job. Good job. She no longer bites because she's matured past that at this point in time. That's awesome. Wanda, welcome. I saw you just jumped in here. So we were just talking about Cinder. What we're talking about is different signs that horses give when they are uncomfortable, okay, with the body work. So we've talked about head tossing, which I gave the example of Dewey. So he would toss his head. He was a little uncomfortable on that side. We talked about internal and external horses. We kind of know about those. We talked about horses that like to leave the building. Okay. So the leave the building horses are Rhythm, Kingston, Raven. Clarissa was queen of leaving the building. Milagros a little bit. He kind of floats in between some of those. And then Teddy was king of leaving the building. So when they're in a stall, the way they leave the building is they just circle the stall really fast. Okay, so that's the leaving the building. We talked a little bit about the look. We talked a little bit about biting, like biting towards you. So, Zanzibar kind of like to threat with that one. We talked about moving, kind of, so you're moving around, you're fidgeting, but then we talked about fidgeting, and that's where we brought up King Cinder. Okay. King Cinder, the king of fidgeting, and then also the queen of fidgeting would be probably Mystic Knight. They'd be a cute couple, I'm gonna be honest. They'd be super cute together. I already like this little love match. Okay, very cute. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about neurotic behavior. Okay. Neurotic behavior. Hold on one second. So with these actions, sometimes can it be because they are feeling things? Yeah, things move, and yes, and not sure how to deal with it or how they're feeling. Yes. So this last week, we had homework, and it was tail homework to work the tail, get the tail, loosened up. And so many of the horses did this amazing hind end movement where they pick their feet up, not like they're going to kick, just like they pick the foot up, pick the foot up, pick the foot up, pick the foot up. And it was that they were so uncomfortable with the sensations that they were having that they had to move their feet. And I just found it very interesting because the information that we learned about the tail came from a book about fascia. And that book, it's called Is Your Horse 100% by Margaret Henkel. She talks about how a tight tail influences the hind end. And this was the first time that I tied that movement together with the work of the tail. So absolutely. I also feel like when horses bite at something on their body because it's what you've been working, you've been working on something, and we say that a release is they're biting at a particular part in their body. I feel like that's because they have a sensation there. I think they have a sensation there from the work that we've been doing. So you're going to have biting at the rib cage, bite, like why all of a sudden do they bite at their leg? I think a sensation was sent there. Why do they pick up their back foot and the back of the heel bulb? Okay, I think Candy did that. Was that Candy? Yeah, this last video. Mystic Knight's done it. I mean, all your whole herd's done that at one point in time, for sure. So, yes, they absolutely get these sensations. And I was just talking about it with the trainer I was talking about, Rada, because I feel like, I'll tell you a story. I was working with Chester, and she taught me something new that he's kind of stepping into me instead of keeping in his own little lane, which I didn't notice because he's a little tiny guy, and it didn't dawn on me. And she goes, get him out and move his shoulders out. I go, perfect, love it. So I worked on him all week. At the end of one of our sessions, he did so good. I was like, dude, it was the session after the lesson. I was like, you are so smart. You're so smart. This horse is so cool. And I was giving him praise and telling him he's good. And he nipped at me. And I was like, what? We're done, dude. We were done. And I was telling you that you're amazing and you nipped at me. Now we're going back to work, which I didn't want to do. So I put him back to work. Okay. And he did great, of course. But what I was talking to her about, like, he didn't do it the next day or the day after or the day after. So it was that one time deal. But when I was talking to her, I was like, it was like he got over, like he had too many emotions and couldn't let it out, and that was the way that he was going to let it out, which also happened under saddle. So he got too nervous, and he decided, um, this is too much for me. I'm going to rear up twice, and I'm going to spin, and then I'm going to do a little hunchy hunchy thing. Okay. So it was like I compare it to, as Kristen has her cat laying behind her head, I compare it to when you pet cats and they freak out for no reason. Have you guys ever done that? Where you're like petting a cat and everything's great, and then all of a sudden the cat goes "Rah!" and like freaks out and like claws at you? So I compare it to that. It's like it's too much sensation at one time. Okay. Which is funny that you say that, because Candy this week in the video that I just put up, she's like stoic, 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 and then she goes, and she like yawns this like aggressive, like licking and chewing, like it came out without her permission. Okay, so that's kind of the same deal too. She was trying to act dignified and not show any of that. And then it came out without her permission. Okay. So I find that very funny. And yes, absolutely sensations can make them act like they want to leave the building or nip at me. Bad idea. Okay. Do strange things, right? So the hind legs can move. That's why make sure you're not getting too mad at them. Like if they straight kick at you, I get it. But sometimes they just go like, whoo, that felt wild. And they move those back feet, they move their front feet, downward dog, right? So it's the same thing. They're having those sensations. They need to move their body. That's why I say ideally, in an ideal world, we're in a pasture and they don't have a halter or lead rope. Because if they need to leave and come back because they need to go over there and feel their feelings and then come back, that's awesome. Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Great question. All right. Last one I want to talk about a little bit is neurotic behavior. Okay. And I showed you guys neurotic behavior with Chester when I first got him. That little weird horse kept folding his neck in half. And it was bizarre. I had not seen a horse do that before. So he would act, it doesn't matter where we were at, and he's very, very flexible, obviously. He's an Arabian, but he would fold his neck in half onto his own body like this. And there was that one video, he did it like 27 times. Okay. And that was all nerves, all of it. Okay. Chester has not done that in months, not once. He does not do that anymore. So neurotic behavior. Anybody else think of a horse that does some neurotic behavior stuff? It's one of the horses of the people on this call.
I don't know if this counts, but Cinder and his rope chewing.
Yeah,
I think
Cinder.
that's pretty or neurotic.
Neurotic.
And I know it's his
Yeah.
soothing thing. And it
Yep.
is kind of starting to go away.
Yep. Yep, definitely. And then Nancy. Yep. Sam. Sam and his weird okay. At this point in time, he has been freed up of that issue with his hyoid, and that there was an issue, a serious issue with that hyoid. He has been freed of that now. Okay. Oh, front leg shaking. Okay, cool. So yes, Sam had a neurotic behavior. Race horses have neurotic behaviors because they're all jammed in those stalls and then they go out and run them and they're high protein, high food. Their food has a lot of energy in it, right? Because they're meant to go fast. So Carol says checks front legs shake, especially if a new person is nearby. Chester's front legs shake too. Carol, I showed Rada that the other day. Yeah, it's really interesting. Their front legs shake. I don't think I've seen that with checks though. I don't think I've seen a video of that. That'd be cool if you could.
She won't do it with me.
Right?
You know what I mean? She does it when she gets worried.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's yeah, it's kind of like if you're sitting and bouncing, when people get nervous and they bounce their
Yes.
legs. It's
Yeah.
like that. Yep.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool. My husband, every time he drives in traffic, like down in Seattle, which is awful, by the way, awful. He taps his finger on the steering wheel and it drives me nuts. I gotta stop doing that, man. But that's his like leg shaking thing. It's really funny. Or we'll be driving somewhere and he'll start doing that. And I'll be like, what are you nervous about? And he'll be like, I'm not nervous. And I go, yeah, you are. What are you nervous about? And then he's like, well, we need to get there. And I'm like, we're on vacation. We don't need to get anywhere. Chill out. And then he'll relax and he'll stop doing that. So this all applies to husbands. Okay. We our poor husbands. Oh gosh. Nancy said, Rada says Sam's chewing is his going internal. Yeah, I mean, it's a coping mechanism. All of them are coping mechanisms. So, I just saw someone go external. Oh, Fridas. And she doesn't normally go external. There's a couple horses on here where I was like, they're just relaxed. Oh, what's that big paint? What's his name? Shoot. He's a big old paint. He just sleeps the whole time he gets body work. He loves it so much. I'm like, that horse is not nervous at all. He's a happy little clam. So, and Fridas is pretty darn happy, but she'll go external sometimes because she'll start paying attention to other horses or other things. I don't know what's going on. I mean, not Sam. Teddy will go external because I'll hear Jennifer go, "What's going on out there?" Right? And I'm like, nothing. He does not care a single bit about what's going on out there, but he's more concerned about what you're doing. So that's his way of dealing with that. Okay. So those are just some of the many things. Okay. And I'm sure there's more. So maybe I'll start compiling a better list. But I like to know which ones are mild, medium, and severe, right? Because I mean, I think Milagros was a really good example of mild, medium, and severe in that one video on the ribs. Because mild was him just being like, "Bah, bah, he just moves his mouth all the time. And then when she changed directions on the ribs, he got real quiet. So when you have your external horses that get real quiet, that's a huge sign. And then after that, he got a little irritated, right? So he had like the moving around, and then he was like, "I'm out of here." So he went through all the stages. He went through all those. So let's talk a little bit about what do we do when we see those stages? Okay. So if you find yourself with a mild case, and I remember Candy when we first started this, she would go internal and we didn't talk about the backup move. That was Candy's signature move, the backup. She loved to back up. That's a good one. And I have that video of that dark horse I was working with, Casey. He would back up too. Okay. So backup is another one. That's kind of like leaving the building in reverse. Okay. Yeah. Adobe will back up. Really? I didn't know that. Okay. Cool. Yeah, good to know. So backing up. Um, so sometimes I would say stick with it, and sometimes I would say back off. So Kristen was really good at seeing whether she should stick with it or back off. So my general rule is stick with it unless they start escalating. Okay? Stick with it unless they start escalating. Because sometimes, listen, they need help through this. They need help through this. So if it's mild enough to where your horse can handle it, stay where you're at. Don't go more. Don't go more. Stay where you're at and help them through it. But if you stay where you're at and they escalate, back off. Because if you don't, you're going to make it worse. Okay. And I see this a lot with trailer issues. Okay. Loading horses into trailers. I see it a lot. I told someone when they were going to go work with their horse, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And they made the Cascades. 2 hours later, I looked out the window and that horse was in a flat sweat, top to bottom. Bam. Because they were following a method that says, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? I'm all for methods. I love methods. I think they're awesome, except when they don't work for the particular horse that's in front of you. Okay? That horse, that horse probably from that day on had a little trauma in regards to loading into a trailer. I just was so sad for it because all they had to do was back off a little bit, help them gain some, gain some confidence, right? You need to help horses gain confidence in body work also. So if they are so defensive against the idea of you pushing them further, or they're in a fair amount of pain and you're still going, and you don't back off when they give you certain cues, and they have to escalate to a point where it's really clear you're losing their trust. Okay? So those are two things you need to think of when you have discovered that they're doing something. Is, do I stick with what I'm doing right now or do I back off? So if they're starting to escalate, back off. And you can come back to it. You can come back to it. But if they're doing okay, if they're doing all right, you can stick with it and help them through it. And then that gives them confidence that, oh, okay, you didn't overdo it, and now I feel better. That gives them confidence. So that's something you got to figure out on your own. It's hard. And if you mess up, it's okay, right? It's okay. It's all right. You can have another chance. You can apologize to horses. It's interesting because it's that intentionality. It's that intentionality. So another thing you can do, let's say, what would you do if the horse you're working on really is not enjoying cross fiber friction on their tricep? What would you do? Yeah, change it. Jiggle, jiggle, flat hand, linear friction, pounding, slapping. I don't care. Change it to something else. Change it to something else and see. Change it. If they don't like a particular move, change the move. That's why knowing different moves is really important. I find it really funny on my public site. People want me to be really soft. They don't want to see pounding. It's funny. I get like negative comments whenever I'm, you know, pounding or slapping. Someone will say something, I mean, it's not a lot. It's like 3 people. Okay. So it's not a lot of people, but they'll say something like, I didn't like all that slapping. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not massaging you. Right? Because the horses love slapping. They love pounding. Leanne, I think, or was it Nancy? Nope, it was Nancy and Sam. You put up that video of, oh yeah, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to have you come on in about 2 minutes, Nancy, and talk about Sam. Sam had his teeth done. If you have your horse's teeth done, super important to follow up with them after that appointment. Not the same day. Give them a couple days. Follow up with them and see if there's any residual tension, tightness, anxiety from that appointment. Having their teeth jacked open in that thing, whatever that feels like. I don't know. Vibration must be incredibly strange to horses. What, they don't experience that. Okay, so that could have been a whole thing. There can be a whole thing about anesthesia. There can be a whole thing about having your head put up. Okay. So anytime you have your horse's teeth done, Follow up with them a couple days later, see how they're feeling, and try to get any tension out that might have happened from that appointment. But I saw on that video, Nancy, when you started slapping that neck, that's when the tension came out. Okay? So even if they don't like it, but it produces a quality result, which is releasing tension, they can thank you later. Okay? They can thank you later. Like, don't do it till they want to kill you. You know, mix it in with some other things. But, you know, if it's going to help them feel better long term, do it. And so that's when my phrase comes out. I'm going to help them through it. I'm still going to be here with them on the other side. They might not like it. I'll still be there though, and they can thank me later. They're going to feel better later. That's why horses, and then someone else once said, the horse is not going to like you doing this, you know, that pounding or whatever I was doing. And she said, that horse will never want to see you again. I don't have any horses that don't want to see me. I have never had a horse that did not want to see me again, ever in 15 years. Okay. So I'm going to disagree with that statement. I pay a lot of attention though, right? My goal is to make them feel better one way or another. So when I leave, they feel better. So yeah, sometimes in mid-appointment, they might not want to see me again. But at the end, they're like, what's her number? Mom, do you have her number in your phone? Because in about a week, when I tell you I need her back, I bet you better be calling her, not somebody else. Okay. My clients and I joke about that I should just sell photos of myself with a little voice because some of the horses look at them like, nah, call Erin. Some of my clients, they very specifically tell their parents when it's time for me to come out because they'll do a lot of really good work by themselves. Okay. So I don't find that to be true. Okay. The other thing I want you to play with is your intensity. Okay. So if you are doing cross fiber friction at, you know, a pretty good intensity, back off that intensity and see if the cross fiber friction helps at a lighter rate. Another thing is some horses do not like light work. So do it harder. Okay. I've told a story about that giant, I'm not going to tell it in depth again, a giant warm blood stallion I worked on, Versace. And I saw him and oh gosh, this horse is going to wear me out. He's so big. He's so muscular. That horse, I figured it out. It took me a while because he was not happy with my massage. He was not happy. So that would have been one mid-massage. He would not want to see me again. But I figured it out about halfway through. That sweet boy wanted effleurage over his whole body. He wanted the lightest touch ever. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. This is perfect. Okay. This is perfect for me. I can do effleurage on this horse for 4 hours straight and I won't be tired. He released so much tension with light work, and he was not happy with the deeper stuff. He was not happy. Okay. So play with how much intensity. Play with how much intensity. Okay. So you can change your move. You can change your intensity. You can also change your area. Change your area. Win them over. If a horse owner tells me my mare is wildly reactive to her pole being touched, you want to know where I'm starting the massage? Yeah, the hind end. Let me introduce you to my little friend called butt rubs. And when I do, I will win your horse's heart. And when I get up to the pole, they're like, do what you will. I have literally changed horses' minds about me by the time I got to the other side of the horse. 100%. I've done that on multiple horses. I've had owners say, you cannot touch her pole. You cannot. And then I look over at them at the end of the massage when my hand's up on their pole, and they're just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Believe it. I master butt rubber here. Okay? Master butt rubber. It's the way you win them over. But if they have an immense amount of tension in their glutes, start at the pole, help them feel better. Okay? So pick a different spot. Work your way in. You can call it the back door. Just go in the back door. They don't want you at the front door. Okay? Go in the back door. Okay? Couple different ways you can help them out. All right. So Nancy, tell us a little bit about your situation. I thought it was kind of cool. And that's gonna, I had a little point I wanted to make about that. So tell us what Sam went through this week. Nancy's outside. She didn't listen. I'm just kidding.
No, I did. Does that work? I've never unmuted before.
Yeah, you're good. We hear you
Okay.
loud and clear.
Okay, well, um, the next day I came to the barn and I felt bad for him because I thought his head probably hurts. I brought him out, and you know what? You just made a great point about if their head hurts, if they don't want you to touch their pole, start the hind end. Gee, I wish I would have tried that. Maybe I could have worked on the pole that day. But of course, I thought, oh, honey, your head hurts. Let me help you. And you could just see it. It was just the tendons and the veins were just standing out, and I could just feel it. It just looked like his head hurt. But he didn't want me to touch him. That was very evident. So I just put him back in his field, and I was then gone for 3 days. But when I came back at the end of our trip, he was just like, please, mom, rub my head. And he was very happy to have his head rubbed. In fact, he helped me rub his head.
Yeah, I bet.
So, yeah, but you could see that his neck, I mean, there were just insertion points and just, oh my gosh, it was so tight. It just looked uncomfortable. So, just working through that, really, it's been a couple days, I think, trying to get that better. But I
Yeah.
wish I would have started now with the butt. That would have been a great idea.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Anytime that they are sore to the point of defensiveness, probably wouldn't have mattered if you started at the hind end.
Okay.
So, after vaccines,
He had that too. He had vaccines
oh,
and teeth.
that's why. I bet you
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah.
So, that's probably why his neck was tight.
Yeah.
Um, one time I went to massage a horse and I was working on him, and the whole side of the neck, whenever I would touch it, just went like this, like that. And I was like, oh, uh, and I just got a feeling. Normally, if I find something like that, I'm gonna try to work it out, right? That's what I'm there for. I want relief. But this was just, it was like a little like spicy. I just didn't, I thought, oh. So I call up the owner and I said, hey, the neck is just it's just too much. It's too sensitive. And I go, did they have, and I asked him straight out, did they have like vaccines or anything recently? And she said, yeah, she had vaccines 2 days ago. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna torture this horse today. I'll come back in a week and I'll torture her then. But I'm not going to do that because it hurt. It was pain, okay? So I don't massage horses that are in that amount of pain. So Nancy, I love it that you were able to identify that he was just like, "Nah, just don't touch me right now." And you knew that you could come back. You could come back to it. So I don't think going to the hind end in that situation would have helped because he was in pain. and you're not going to make pain, the process of healing, go faster by massage. So same situation when Leanne had said that, I think it was Mystic Knight that got bit in the butt. Yeah. I always ask, how long ago was that? Same with Dewey. I said, how long ago did Dewey get that scar? Because I'm going to go after it if it was a long time ago. I'm going to go after it plus all the skin that's involved. I am not going to go after it if it just happened. I'm not going to go after it if there could possibly be bruising or strain, right? So from teeth being done, there could have been who knows what, honestly. Y'all been to the dentist, right? Where your jaw hurts the next day? Don't touch me. Y'all hurt your back enough at one point in time where you're like, give me like 2 days before you tell me to do something like stretch or go to the chiropractor or massage, because I'm not doing anything for 2 days. That's how sensitive it is. So I will generally wait 3 to 5 days. If it's a cut or something like that, I'm waiting for complete healing to where I'm not going to worry about breaking it open. Okay. So that was kind of cool. That was a cool situation to hear with Sam, and just, that he clearly didn't want it. And when they clearly don't want it, leave them alone, because you're gonna lose their trust if you don't.
Yep.
And check back with them later. Check back with them later. And then their opinion will change, and his did. Okay.
Well, I brought apples. That helped.
That apples care. I work well with bribery also, so I totally understand that. Yep. Okay. Any questions? Let me share the homework with Wanda real quick. Da, 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 da. Maybe. There it is. Fetlock rub, coronet band, ting points, hind end. Hind end. It's gonna be good. Next week, we're gonna do leg range of motion. So we're tying all that stuff in. Okay. There you go. Thank you to everyone who came to the awesome hoof care extravaganza webinar we had on Wednesday. I'm going to be taking that info and editing and making it compact so that we can hopefully get that out in a webinar stance, and then offering that to people who need it. Because I know there were a lot of people who had asked for it and weren't able to make that particular time. So we will have that available. I just have to edit it, and it's 80 degrees out here, guys. I do not want to be on a computer for hours. So I will get that edited. I will get that put up, and then we'll let everybody and their grandma know that that is available when it's available. Okay? Any questions? Okay, you have your assignment. We are toward the end now. It's going to be awesome. Carry on. See you guys. Have a good one.